Yes, it's a Fox News alert. A nationwide crackdown on illegal immigration.
ICE action was planned in 9 major cities as agents try to round up thousands of migrants, we've heard, ordered out of the country by a judge.
All right, so what happened? Mike Tobin joins us live from one of those cities, Chicago. Mike, did you hear any reports of any raids happening?
No, so far the city of Big Shoulders has been quiet in terms of ICE agents out serving warrants. There were some arrests that happened prior to that Sunday mark when things were supposed to begin, but the notion of a big roundup never materialized. What materialized was a lot of counter demonstrations here in Chicago. Members of the Hispanic community, supporters, and people opposed to an immigration crackdown attended Mass at St. Agnes Church and then marched to the predominantly Hispanic Little Village neighborhood. In other Hispanic neighborhoods, we saw local aldermen and community leaders teaching community members what the law says they can do if agents show up. People on bikes went out. They fanned out as patrols and lookouts in the neighborhoods. Elected leaders promised they would not cooperate with federal agents.
We will make sure that our police department cuts them off and continues to cut them off from any databases. We will not allow our police officers to facilitate these heartless raids.
Now, what's interesting is that ICE contacts say the lack of communication actually results in more undocumented immigrants coming in contact with ICE agents. The ICE agents would prefer to pick up their targets at the courthouse, make a smooth transfer. It's safer for agents. It's safer for civilians. When they go into the houses, they end up bumping into people that they never intended to make contact with. So you can actually end up with more deportations. But as far as the big roundup, the only thing that has materialized thus far is a lot of demonstrations. We're keeping an eye on it today. Guys, back to you.
10 major cities. That's one of them. Sanctuary cities especially. Mike Tobin, thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, let's go down to Palm City in Florida. Dan Bongino joins us. You know him. He's a Fox News contributor. He's a former cop, Secret Service guy, wrote a great book called Spygate, The Attempted Sabotage of Donald J. Trump. Mr. Bongino, so what did you make of the ICE action over the weekend? It appears to have been routine, and it wasn't the big roundups that we thought might happen starting on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, the big controversy over this is that it shouldn't be controversial at all. I mean, I was a federal agent, and going in and using enforcement actions to deport people who, Steve, this is important, who have been ordered deported by a judge.
Right.
These are not people who crossed the border yesterday and are in the middle of a judicial proceeding. These are people who entered our country illegally in clear violation of our U.S. law. Nope, let's not make any mystery about that. We then gave them the courtesy of our great Constitution, which they get when they land. They go when they come here. They go through the judicial process. A judge said, you are here illegally, you must leave. By the way, many, not all, but many of these people also went on to commit additional crimes, Steve. And I don't understand. What are you protesting? Well, just come out and say it if you're protesting. Just say, listen, I don't believe in national sovereignty, and I believe in open borders. Just say it. I mean, be honest about it.
Yeah, if you look at
a number of the people, to his point, a lot of the people were protesting family separations. But if you are arrested, you know, your local police officer is going to separate your family.
Steve, they're not protesting family separations. Let's just be honest about it. Do you really believe this is about the kids? I mean, listen, I know I'm not interviewing you guys, so I'll pass on it. But this is not, I'm sorry. This is not about the kids. It should be. It's not. You know how I know that? Because you had a bunch of radical Democrats up on Capitol Hill when there was a multi-billion-dollar aid package to facilitate easing the bad conditions at the border created by the Democrats. They own the border crisis. And you know what these radical Democrats did? They voted against it. And I've got news for you. The other ones would have done it too if it weren't for political pressure by moderate Democrats who said, hey, you know what? I've got an election coming up. I can't go back to my purple district and tell people I voted against an aid package to help kids at the border. So you all better wake up. That's the only reason the Pelosi Democrats voted for it. But remember, the 4 radical Democrats voted against it up on the Hill. This has never, ever been about the kids. Again, it should be. but it's not.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned that a lot of these individuals were criminals already. In fiscal year 18, October 1st to September 30th, the last full year that we have, ICE arrested 158,581, and 87% of those arrested were for other crimes or they were already convicts. So why is the messaging separating of kids? We keep hearing that. Yes, that sounds awful, to remove a parent from a house when the kids are crying in the background. That is the picture that the Democrats paint. But if Congress would change the laws, and when they step foot on our land, they're automatically deported, we wouldn't have to talk about separation, right?
You know, Ainsley, when I was a young Secret Service agent in my early 20s, our first arrest was a guy who'd committed about $500,000 in bank fraud. We hit that house at 5:30 in the morning. I'll never forget it. And the sun came out. Obviously, they'd just woken up and hadn't gone to school yet at that time. And one of the most painful days of my life, you know, and listen, I know liberals watch this and they take shots at me and all that. I don't really give a damn. You were never in my spot. You guys can go pound sand. This is the truth. I never forgot that. It was tough. But the guy did a really bad thing, and we live in a country of laws. Are you telling me with a straight face now, the left, that we're going to create a special class of super citizens who came here illegally, who, if they commit an additional crime, there will be no judicial proceeding whatsoever? These people are these super citizens, by the way, who aren't citizens at all. They commit crimes. They're never to be detained, never to be jailed, never separated from their families, and never asked to leave the country even though they entered illegally. I'm asking you, are you telling me with a straight face that that's what you're willing to do? And if you are, then grow a titanium spine and tell us the truth. You want open borders, and you want people who entered the country illegally to never, ever be subjected to the laws, right. Ainsley, you, I, Steve Bryan, and every other listener has to abide by.
Well, we'll have to see when the vote comes up in 2020, because the difference between the parties could not be more stark. Even though Joe Biden was confronted by protesters in Dover, people saying, how could you detain, how could you have deported all those tens of thousands of people during your administration? He had no explanation. He was trying to defend his extreme, what many people say is extreme action over the last 8 years. Try to wrap your head around that. Meanwhile, the media is having a meltdown over the conditions at the border. Conditions that have been overwhelmed because of asylum rules that allow this thing to be chaos. Listen.
Well, isn't there also a law about how you treat human beings? When you look at those conditions, I mean, even the most hardened criminals in our criminal justice system are not treated like that. Death row inmates don't live in conditions like that.
They were hungry and wanted to brush their teeth. It was sweltering hot. Agents were wearing face masks. Are these acceptable conditions?
We've got this crisis at the border, unsustainable conditions.
This is red meat for the red states to get his base up. Dangerous overcrowding firsthand. Hundreds of men packed into facilities. They don't have room to lie down. They're asking for water. The smell was overwhelming. Isn't this a shame? Isn't this a blight on the United States government?
Your reaction to the media's reaction and the questions.
You know, the ignorance is so profound, it's like the media lives in an intellectual vacuum. I encourage him on a Saturday night. You know, I was an actual cop, unlike these imbeciles in the media who talk about stuff they have no idea. You know what's amazing? They want to do law enforcement commentary, and they can't even do journalism. Like, get a real job first, I'm sorry, before you comment on stuff you have no idea about. I encourage him to go to Brooklyn North Central Booking in New York City on a Saturday night. You want to talk about conditions? They won't, because they don't know what they're talking about. Listen to me. The Democrats own the immigration crisis. They've done nothing about Flores. They've done nothing about our asylum laws. They've done nothing about chain migration. They've done nothing about deportations. You want to go on? We can go on all day. They've done nothing about aid packages at the border. They have done nothing about these facilities at the border. They have done zero, zilch, nothing. How many different languages you need me to say zero in? This is their crisis. They own it. Look at me, libs. You bought it. You own it. You lied about it. And then you told us there was no crisis while you crapped over every single effort for Donald Trump to fix it. You are full of it. And if there weren't FCC rules, I'd fill that in differently. You are full of it. You guys own this. We tried to fix it. You own it. Every single bit of this.
I still would like to see it fixed. I still want to see them come together, because every day the Border Patrol's down there dealing with this. They're not waiting for 2020. They got to get through this week.
I would too. Nobody wants to see kids sleeping on floors in facilities. But when you try to buy them beds at Wayfair and these knucklehead liberal lunatics are protesting the sale of beds, what do you want us to do? These people are insane. They don't want to fix this.
Well, it's so bad. I think there might be an opportunity for the president to do something, get these guys